Essential Bhakti is a pan-Indian transdisciplinary research network of authors, artists, critics, humanists, and performance scholars, social scientists, and translators in action research in medievalist movements and traditions. And its focus is on the critical transformation of the pan-Indian society and culture under the effectiveness of classical, semi-classical, and local traditions, which have been understood as the great Indian Renaissance over the period. The medieval regime must be understood as something intermediary in between the ancient and the modern, the classical and the material setups, but retains its high merits as it continued to maintain the social cultural identity, a dynamic process in the recreation of pan-Indian movements and identities. This historical period finds the rise of kingdoms, civilizations, cultures with a foreign engagement, especially the Delhi Sultanate and Mughal imperialism, and the beginning of the Persian and Indian, kind of engagement, beginning Iranian traditions as well. I welcome Professor Kailash Chandra Baral sir, who is the Vice Chairman of Makais and Professor of English and India Studies, IFLU, as the Pro VC of IFLU Shillong. And his latest publication includes Empires Backward, Colonial Modernity and Northeast India, Routledge 2025. Sir is well known as a comparist and also a specialist in North Indian studies, and he has been engaged in research in the medieval traditions. The program is curated by Professor Arun Kumar Patnaik, Professor of Political Science, Hyderabad Central University. His latest publication is Gramercy and South Asia, Common Sense, Religion and Political Society, Routledge 2024. Our author is Professor B.N. Patnaik, who has made the Mahabharat study popular in India and abroad. And Sir has two great monographs like Introducing Sarala Mahabharat by CIIL 2012 and Retelling as Interpretation, an essay on Sarala Mahabharat, Jadavpur University 2013. I now hand over the session to the chairperson of the seminar. Thank you everyone for joining us, and I'm thanking the resource persons for being available online.
Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
You are audible.
Thank you. Thank you. Good evening and namaskar to all of you. And it is a privilege to chair this particular session because all of us, we know that Professor B.N. Patnaik is a very reputed scholar and professor of English and linguistics. And I don't know when he exactly started his love for Mahabharat and Sarala Das, but he has been immensely, I would say, insightful in his writing on Mahabharat. We had some conversations some time back on some of the characters and issues of Mahabharat, and he has actually enlightened me a lot. I think the abstract is available, and his talk is very important, that he has made a very important observation that Sarala Das actually recreated in a very innovative way the given text, that is the Sanskrit Mahabharata. And from that onwards, what Sarala Das did, according to him, is that he has actually retold the Mahabharat in his own way under the great storytelling tradition of India. Along with that, he has also got what is called a particular kind of philosophical orientation. According to Professor Patnaik, that the philosophical Sarala Das has not received adequate attention, and today's talk, in that sense, would reflect the poet's understanding of the human condition, the nature of agency in a predetermined world, karma, and the inevitability of experiencing the fruits of it, the role of grace in the karmic framework, the nature of a dharma, internal, external obstacles for living a life of a dharma, dharma yuddha, divine intervention in the affairs of mortals, and the nature of Purna Avatar, complete manifestation of Narayan, among much else. This presentation discusses episodes from Sarla Mahabharat to show Sarla Das' creativity as a thinker. This is the abstract, and if I would like to add a little more, in addition to what he is going to do, it is my own personal understanding that Sarala Mahabharata is not just an epic as it is considered, but it is a great cultural text. And the cultural dimension is very broad, that it includes not only the storytelling tradition, it includes the development of Odia language and also some kind of native philosophization or philosophizing of great issues like dharma, tyaga, or bhoga, all these different aspects of Indian philosophy are included in this narrative. And this is actually a remarkable text which actually marked the vernacularization of Sanskrit text, Sanskrit epic. And in the process of vernacularization, it has also got a lot of local characteristics. And this is what is Sarala Das' achievement, apart from the narrative or the story and the Odishan characters that he has included, forcing Yudhishthir to marry in Odisha at a very late stage. These are some of the interesting aspects of this great text. And I think Professor Patnaik is very much competent to enlighten all of us and let us listen to him. Now I invite Professor Patnaik to make his presentation.
Uh, Thank you so much, Professor Barar, for this very kind and generous introduction of me. Grateful to you. Very tough. Um, so let me and sort of so and greetings to everybody. Namaste. So let me begin like this. I will not really stick to the abstract the way I have written it. I will slightly deviate from it. But essentially, many of the things that I wanted to show there would be covered. Now, anyway, basically, what I'm trying to do is today that I will discuss a few episodes and talk about their significance. And and what I will do is I will place the idea in the Sarala's ideas in the context of the rich Puranic tradition of the country. The Puranic tradition is kind of situating Sarala Mahabharat in the Puranic tradition of the country, both English and regional languages. Now, but there is a limitation here sorry, both Sanskrit and regional languages. We know the Sanskrit Puranic literature, whatever I'm going to refer to here, we know those things, but we do not really know, because of lack of translation, we do not really know much about the regional language versions of Mahabharata. But in any case, sort of, we have to assume a few things. I'm assuming a few things and going ahead. So it could be hugely erroneous when I make statements about regional languages, because there's nothing to go by, in the sense that there are no complete translations of the immortal works by regional language Mahabharata retailers. I use the word retailer rather than translator, because these people have not really translated it. Whatever we mean by translation today, I don't have to go into that. Everybody knows. By retelling, I mean, what they did was they kept the basic story intact. Even some of them didn't even do that. Basic story intact, and created their own narrative. And in that sense, they reconceptualized it, reimagined it, and wrote it in their respective languages. Uh, so Sarala is not the first person to retell Mahabharata. In that sense, it is retelling. A retailer has a lot more freedom to create, to innovate, and incorporate those innovations in his storytelling than a translator, obviously. In any case, he didn't start the retelling tradition. Telugu, Nannaya, and maybe I mean, we don't know. We know that Tamil, there is a translation of Mahabharata available in Tamil, but no one, but I have not seen any. I have only seen references to it, but no one has, even those who have referred to it have not talked about the text. So in any case, it is not available. So Nannaya's translation Telugu, and then Kumarabasa and all. So they preceded Sarala, but Sarala is the first person who retold all the 18 parvas of Vyasa Mahabharata in Odia. He's the first person. Recently, there has been some questioning, but that's a different issue. But this is what he did. And in any case, he's the first non-Brahmin, the first Sudra. He's the first Sudra poet to do so. So, uh, this is so I think this much I will say, and how he innovated and how he recreated all those things will come up naturally as I tell the stories. So I just will make quick comments there, but basically all those things will come. Now, invocation is a very important part of our storytelling tradition. When somebody tells a story, one invokes one's favorite deity, and 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 then tells the story. So that is a part of the tradition. And Vyasa did it, and Vyasa said that if you have to tell the story of the Mahabharata, he called Jaya. If you want to tell the story of victory, that is Mahabharata, first you should uh, invoke Lord. First you should pay your respect to Lord Narayan, and then to uh, Nara, and then to Saraswati and Vyasa, and then you said then you start telling the story. What Sarala did was, he did not do that. He prayed to Lord Ganesh and Goddess Sarala. So the Puranic tradition of invocation of Mahabharata and what Sarala did are different. And then it is said that Vyasa was the poet, but Lord Ganesh was the scribe. So Vyasa was telling, was kind of, sort of was telling the verses to Lord Ganesh, and Ganesh was writing them. So he was the scribe, the poet was Vyasa. Here, Sarala says that he is the scribe. He says that it is not what I am writing. It is what Mother Goddess Sarala told me, and whatever Sarala Goddess told me, I am writing. So the author is Goddess Sarala, and the scribe is Sarala Das, the poet. Sarala Das, the poet. Now, so one can see the kind of the kind of contrast. Uh, Vyasa, who is the author in Vyasa Mahabharata, he is the author, and the scribe is Lord Ganesh. Here, scribe is the poet, that is Sarala Das, but he says that the real poet is goddess Sarala. Now, some people have tried to suggest that Sarala was doing this because for a Shudra to retail, or for a Shudra to sort of retail the Mahabharata stories, these Puranic stories, this was considered to be, I mean, absolutely unacceptable in the society of those days. So to protect himself from persecution, he said that, look, I am not writing, it is the goddess who has written this. I don't agree with this. Opinions differ. I mean, as rivers differ, as they say, cliche goes. So, sort of, I don't agree with this because if that is the case, he was protecting himself from persecution. Then how would these people who would have persecuted him taken it that here is a Sudra who was saying that he was specially close to Goddess Sarala, and so close that Goddess Sarala was telling him everything and he was only writing. So this claim of special relationship with Sarala as his mother, this itself a Sudra is making, would that have been acceptable? So I don't agree with this explanation. It is a kind of it's a kind of devotion. Just as there is a practice, there is a common practice in Odisha, and I think elsewhere in the country, that whatever I mean, you don't take the credit for something that you have done yourself, and you give the credit to some god and all that. So it is said that the parts of speech division was not made by the grammarian, it was made by Lord Indra. So this kind of a thing has been the part of the tradition. So in any case, so right from the invocation, we see how Sarala differs or how Sarala deviated from the received Mahabharata. I use the word received Mahabharata because, see, in the 15th century, the Mahabharata that Sarala was acquainted with, he may, I do not know what was the nature of his acquaintance. Nobody knows whether he knew Sanskrit and to what extent he actually read the Mahabharata or he listened to the Mahabharata. No one, there is a lot of lack of clarity about this. But in any case, whatever he got, that Mahabharata that Mahabharata which he was exposed to contains the Bhagavad Gita. So that is the important thing. In that sense, I am saying that the received Mahabharata, the Mahabharata which contains Bhagavad Gita. So there is an argument that Bhagavad Gita was not originally a part of the Mahabharata and it was later incorporated. In oral tradition of storytelling, this kind of incorporation and all that, and deletion and incorporation, this kind of thing goes on all the time. So in any case, so what Sarala received was the, by received Mahabharata. What I mean is that the Mahabharata that he received contained the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, now, so there are in several ways, sort of I mean, the Sarala Mahabharata research in Odisha, in Odia language, is about 100 years old. In the sense that I mean, not that it has always been active, very very productive and very active, but it started a long time back, and basically it was kind of enumerating the variations of Sarala Mahabharata or the departure of Sarala Mahabharata from Mahabharata. So that is what has so that is what the scholars, that is what the Pandit Gopinath Nanda Sharma, the first one who worked on Sarala Mahabharata, did, and that has become the tradition of Sarala scholarship. So everyone finds the differences between Sarala and Vyasa Mahabharata and Sarala Mahabharata and notes them and sort of enumerates them. But uh, but the important thing to ask, okay, there are these differences, but what did the text gain by that? What sort of so what is the significance of this departure from law? What is the significance of these innovations? Okay, so now sort of so I think that research has to be done, just as Sarala Mahabharata as a cultural text, as Professor Boral pointed out. So that also has remained unexplored. So that also needs to be done. In any case, what I am trying to do here is I'm basically trying to discuss some episodes and talk about their significance as I understand them and situate them in the Puranic tradition of. Hello?
Yeah, please
Am I
silent.
audible? there is some talk.
Yes, sir.
Anyway,
Please continue.
okay. So that is what I know. Significance and situate Sarala's ideas in the context of in our Puranic tradition. And as I mentioned in my abstract, Sarala as a thinker has not been discussed. We have only looked at Sarala as a storyteller, an original storyteller, and all that. Sort of that's what we have done. But then we have not really talked about the profoundly significant that Sarala himself was a profoundly significant thinker, and he looked into all those things that I have enumerated and mentioned in abstract. Okay. Uh, uh, Now, I will just take up three points. I mean, I'll just take up 3 points. One, there are many. I'll also talk about differences, as I mentioned. There are many, but I'll just take up three. I'll deal with only three. One, why should we live a virtuous life? Why should we live a life of dharma? That is one. And in other words, and what benefits shall we get if we follow the path of dharma? What is the gain? And the second thing will be able to. It is dharma use possibility? What is the possibility? Is a dharma use the possible? Um, and certain other questions surrounding this question of just war. Dharma youth can be probably translated instead of virtuous war, just war. Okay. And the third question will be about uh, a character, and sort of his name is Zara, and I will discuss. I mean, if I have that's a very fascinating character. I will point out a few things about that character if I mean sort of time permits. Okay. But anyway, but I'll have to mention that. But let me see how I'm able to deal with these two. Okay. Uh, See, how did Dhritarashtra become the king? In Vyasa Mahabharata, Dhritarashtra became king uh, because Pandu was under a curse. But the Pandu, his younger brother Pandu was under a curse, and that was that he could not have any sexual union with anyone. So Pandu, uh, Pandu was disqualified for that reason because he would not be able to give a descendant. Who will inherit the throne after that? So Pandu was disqualified, and Dhritarashtra became the king. So that is the story of sort of him. Dhritarashtra became the king, and Pandu, not. Although Vidura was in favor of making Pandu the king, and Bhishma had agreed because Dhritarashtra was born blind, and a blind person could not protect the kingdom. So Vidura suggested to Bhishma that Pandu should become the king. But then this is what happened. Pandu was cursed by a sage that he could not have any sexual union with anyone, and as a result of that, he had to because he would not be able to give a successor to the throne, he abdicated the throne. I mean, sorry, not abdicated. He could not become the king. So Dhritarashtra became the king. So that is essentially the Vyasa story. Now look at what Sarala did. In Sarala Mahabharat, Pandu became the king because Dhritarashtra was considered to be unsuitable. A blind person could not really defend a kingdom. Therefore, a blind person could not become a king. So he, so Pandu became the king. Okay. One day, Pandu was one day Dhritarashtra was telling Gandhari, his wife Gandhari, and he was saying that, look, I am the elder son, but I could not be the king, and my life is useless. So there is no point in living. So let us go and consign ourselves to the Ganges, to the river Ganges. And because
কি মুশকিল 6:30 পরে কাজ করতে দেবে না ও কাজ করে যাচ্ছে কি করব আমার আজকে আর করতে পারবে না আপনি কালকে কাজ করুন কালকে সে করুন জিনিসপত্র রেখে দিয়ে যান কালকে করুন
hello
মুশকিল আমি কি বলবো বলো তো একটু অফিস থেকে ফোন করে আমার 6:30 কল
so to continue so
yes sir, please continue sir.
Sorry, can I carry on?
Yes sir, please carry on sir.
Okay. So,
sir, please carry on.
So when Dhritarashtra was saying this to his wife, Pandu overheard this. He was passing by and he overheard this. When he knew that his elder brother was so dejected and so anguished, he decided to abdicate the throne in favor of his elder brother and go to the forest on his own. He took his wife and went to the forest. And when he did that, he told his brother that look, he told his brother that look, I will protect the kingdom of Hastinapura from the forest. So you be the king, and I will protect the kingdom from Hastinapura on your behalf. So there was some disturbance. So let me quickly summarize this. That one day, Pandu, who had become the king, there was no curse on him yet. He had become the king. The elder brother was considered to be unsuitable because of his blindness. And one day, when he was passing by, one day he overheard his elder brother Dhritarashtra telling his wife that look, I am the elder brother, but I could not become the king. I am so unfortunate. There is no point in living this meaningless life. So let us go and consign ourselves to the river Ganga. So when he overheard this, he immediately, he was very upset that his father was so dejected. So he immediately abdicated the throne in favor of his brother and went to the forest, assuring that he would protect the kingdom from the forest. Okay. Now, as he was there in the forest one day, says Agasti, and Sarala calls him says Agastya. Says Agasti came and met him. And says Agasti told him that look, I have heard about all this. I have heard what you have done. And your brother was sort of incompetent, and you made a huge sacrifice for him. So this your personal sacrifice, your sacrifice for brother, so is a very important, is a great celebration of brotherly relationships. So I know, I know, and he says that all these will go. All these will wither away in the past. See, there will be the time will come when you will not be there, Dhritarashtra will not be there. All this, the present will not be there. The present will be in the past. But people will remember this. People will remember what great sacrifice you made for your brother. And, so that is what people will remember. So the beautiful line of Sarala is, Katha rahithibo. E samasta jibo. All this will go. All this will go means you will not be there. Dhritarashtra will not be there. Nobody of the present generation will be there. All of them will go. They all will disappear to the past. But the story will remain. People will remember you and say that this is what you did for your brother. So this is what he said. The beautiful lines are Katha rahithibo. Okay. Now, similar, and in the same spirit, once Duryodhana, once a Gandharva, Duryodhana went to humiliate the Pandavas when the Pandavas were in exile. And a Gandharva, sort of defeated Duryodhana, tied him up in his chariot, and was going to heaven, going to Swarga to kill him. And there he would have killed him. And when Yudhishthira saw this, Yudhishthira told Arjuna that go and fight with Gandharva and protect and save Duryodhana. Arjuna said, look, he is our enemy. he has done all this to us, and then a Gandharva is doing whatever we should have done. I mean, we would have taken revenge, but a Gandharva is doing the job for us. Why should we try and save him? And Yudhishthira said, look, when you, I mean, he said that, when you save your brother, then you do a great thing. Then you do a great punya. So there's nothing greater than sort of then there's nothing greater than saving somebody in this kind of situation. The exact lines are, I'm reading out. I know that very few people. I'll translate. Huh. And he says, "Sahodra sambhalile bahut achi dharma." If you protect your brother, then you'll gain a lot of dharma. Then you will be doing a dharmic act.
इसी चल रहा है
शत्रु को
तो
रखिले
पता नहीं
कथा
चल रहे थे
शत्रु को रखिले कथा गहि was amazing. If you protect your enemy, then for in births after and then in generations after generations the story will remain. And then he said that do good things, do the act of dharma, that is save Duryodhana from the Gandharva, and sort of let the story remain. So the same idea has been reinforced. Katha rahiti. Now, so the differences between Sarala Mahabharata and Vyasa Mahabharata are clear in these episodes of how Dhritarashtra became king and all that. That is very clear. And what Pandu did. Now this is not there in Vyasa Mahabharata at all. Okay, now to me it appears that what Sarala was doing is he was giving a new understanding of the notion of immortality. That is, if you look at our Puranic tradition, immortality is, immortality basically involves not dying. One doesn't, remaining alive and not dying. So Aswasthama remained alive because of the Gora, Aswasthama, and Yudhishthira went to Swarga without passing through death. So in some sense, in one way or the other, Puranic literature talks about immortality, Amaratva, and Amaratva would mean permanent life. That is, one doesn't die, one lives permanently. One doesn't pass through death. Okay. Sarala says that no, you can die and still remain immortal. How? Because you die, but generations and generations and generations of people will remember the good deeds the dharmic deeds that you have done, and then and through the collective memory of people, the community, you will live. So that is a beautiful notion of immortality. Now, in the notion of this notion of immortality is not there in our entire Puranic literature. So to that extent, I would suggest a very original notion of immortality. And the purpose of dharma is, the purpose of dharma is that people will remember you. If you do good things, people will remember you. Now, in Sarala Mahabharata, in the Puranic literature, and in some places in Sarala Mahabharata, it is said that look, if you do good things, if you lead a dharmic life today, in this birth, you may suffer, but in the next birth, you will have a prosperous life. This is what Shakuni told. This is what Shakuni told Yudhishthira. That look, you are a person. You are a kind of you are a person of you are the one who follows the path of virtue. You are a dharmic person, and Duryodhana is not. So let Duryodhana fight. Why should you go to war? You don't go to war because you are a dharmic person. You will suffer in this life various kinds of problems but the difficulties in life, so you will suffer. But then in the next life, you will be amply rewarded. And Yudhishthira, of course, because it was Shakuni who was saying this, he used to dismissed him summarily and said that, look, go and tell this to Duryodhana. So in any case, so you see, so idea is that if you do good things, then you either attain Swarga, or you are born in your next birth, you live a life of, you live a comfortable life, you live a great life, you live a life of, whatever your intentions are, whatever your inclinations are, you will find a perfect, the kind of situation in which your inclinations will get perfect realizations. So this is what will happen. So, but Sarala is saying nothing of the sort. Sarala is saying, no, so if you do a dharmic act, it's not, he doesn't talk about going to Swarga at all, or being born and being compensated for the suffering in this life or in the next life. Nothing of this kind. And incidentally, let me point out that in Sarala Mahabharata, Yudhishthira did not intend to go to Swarga without passing through death. He did not intend to. Going to Swarga was not something that he wanted. It just happened to him. He didn't want it. It happened to him, and then the story said how Krishna had manipulated it and all. I managed it. Okay, But in any case, set that aside. But that was not his. That is not the reason why. That was not the aspiration of Yudhishthira to go to heaven alive in his mortal body. No. In any case, so to close this point, I just wanted to say, let me repeat that. Uh, if you consider the Puranic literature, then you would not find a notion of immortality like this, that you die and yet remain alive. And you remain alive, you are immortal in the community consciousness. The community talks about it in that sensitivity. So this is a very important innovation in terms of in terms of insight by Sarah. Coming to this question of war, Professor Baral, before you kindly give me before about 5 to 7 minutes, please tell me when I have to wind up. Okay, because I'm going to only the second one.
I think Sarat is keeping the time. I'm not keeping the time.
How much time?
Sir, you have
Sarat knows how
more than
much
15
time.
minutes.
No, I can't.
Sir, you have more than 15 minutes. You may please continue, sir, as long as you wish. You have more than 15 minutes. You have more than 15 minutes, sir.
Anyway,
Yes, sir, more than that. Please go ahead, sir. Please go ahead.
Okay.
There is no time limit.
Okay. Thank you very much. So that helps. Okay. Now let's come to the war question. A very important distinction between Vyasa Mahabharata and Sarala Mahabharata. And when I say Vyasa Mahabharata, here I mean Vyasa Mahabharata, which contains the Bhagavad Gita. And when I talk about Sarala Mahabharata, when I talk about what Sarala received in terms of what I call received Mahabharata, it contains the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, but in Sarala Mahabharata, there is no Bhagavad Gita. And some scholars have observed that Sarala Mahabharata does not contain Bhagavad Gita because Sarala wrote it for the uneducated people, people who are sort of, basically uneducated people. So he thought that it would be difficult for them to understand the Gita. So he did not include Gita, there. That is because of his audience consciousness, the kind of audience for whom he was telling the story. That is why he did not. The Sarala also doesn't contain the Bhagavad Gita. But that's something which I flatly disagree. That is not the reason, because the narrative is different. Now consider sort of the received text, quote unquote received text of the Bhagavad Gita. Consider that where Arjuna is reluctant to fight. Arjuna does not want to fight. Anichcha. Arjuna doesn't want to fight because he doesn't want to fight those who are his, to whom he is related in one way or other. Somebody is a brother, somebody is his guru, somebody is kind of affectionate grandfather, like that. Somebody is guru's son, Aswastama, like that. And Duryodhana, his brother, he was very reluctant. He said, no, it is not. It is not worth it to fight to acquire the kingdom by killing these people. And he refused to fight. And Krishna had to advise him and tell him that it would be Kshatriya dharma for him to fight for Nyaya, for justice. Essentially, that is the so Krishna's discourse was to persuade a reluctant Arjuna to understand the nature of life and death, killing and dying. That sort of he tells him that I mean, that the essence, that Atma is the essence and body is only an outer thing. Atma resides in the body. The body is mortal, Atma is immortal, so Atma doesn't die. So like that. So that discourse is well known. So what Krishna did was he shifted and he based his arguments on Atma and its immortality. And towards the end, in the 11th chapter, he told Arjuna that look, he showed his Vishwarupa to Arjuna, universal form, and Arjuna saw that he was actually not going to kill anymore. All of them who were to die had already been dead, and sort of they had already been dead. So he was not to kill anybody. So there Krishna said that be a nimitta, be a nimitta, okay, and because I have killed, you are not going to kill anybody, I have killed you, like that. So that is the 11th chapter. So there are arguments, and in the 11th chapter when he shows his Vishwarupa, this is what he tells of. Okay, here Arjuna's problem is not that. Arjuna is reluctant to fight, but that is not but Arjuna's reasons are very different. Arjuna is not unwilling to fight in Sarala Mahabharata because he would be killing relations and teachers and preceptors and all that. That is not the reason at all. Arjuna says that I am willing to kill, but I will not start the war. So look at the story now, the episode. No? The Kaurava army and the Pandava army are facing each other. And Krishna asks Arjuna to attack. Arjuna says, I will not do that. I will not do that. I will not attack. The reason is, he says that the one who shoots the first arrow, in other words, symbolically, otherwise, the one who starts a war, to him, all the sins of the war accrues. So he becomes responsible for the war, and he doesn't want to do it. He says, if I am attacked, I will attack. If I am not attacked, I will not attack. So Krishna doesn't do anything. He simply gets off Arjuna's chariot and goes to his elder brother Yudhishthira. And he says that, look, your brother is unwilling to fight. So Yudhishthira says that, and he says that no, Arjuna, what Arjuna is saying is right. So I will go and speak to Duryodhana for one last time. Okay. So he went. So all alone, Yudhishthira went to the Kaurava side. No arms, nobody to escort him. He said that a brother doesn't need to be. A brother is going to meet his brother, and he doesn't need any escort or anything. That must have been his feeling. So he went and spoke to Duryodhana and told Duryodhana. Now notice here that Krishna is not the last person to negotiate peace with the Kauravas. It is Yudhishthira on the Kurukshetra battlefield itself. So Krishna is not the last negotiator. It is Yudhishthira. Anyway, so Yudhishthira goes and tells Arjuna that look, tells Duryodhana that look, we should not get engaged in a fratricidal war. We should not kill our brothers, and we should not be doing that. So let there be no war. And give us 5 villages, and we will be content, and we will not ask for anything. And so that is all that we want. Duryodhana said, I will not give you anything, let there be war. And then Yudhishthira said this, very interesting. And this is again a beautiful innovation in terms of philosophy of war. And Yudhishthira said that, look, if war is inevitable, if then if you don't give us 5 villages, then war will be inevitable. But if war is inevitable, then do one thing. Let everybody go home. Only 5 Kauravas, sorry, only 5 Pandavas and 100 Kauravas will fight, because it is their war. They would be the beneficiaries, no one else. Why should soldiers die? When a war takes place, innocent blood flows on the battlefield, and this is the blood of the innocent soldiers. Why should others die? They are not beneficiaries of the war. So the beneficiary would be only the 100 Kauravas and the 5 Pandavas. So let them fight. And Duryodhana said no. Now, when Yudhishthira said this, look at what he was doing. He was saying that, look, if war is inevitable, then the damage has to be minimal. We have to ensure that the damage is minimal. And number two, when the war is inevitable, let only those who will directly benefit from the war will fight, not others. It is not their war. Look at this beautiful concept. It's almost modern, sort of. So it is not their war. They should not fight. Now, this notion of a war is not there in Puranic literature. There have been one-to-one single combats, there have been skirmishes and all that, but a war in which there will be no soldiers, no army will be participating, none but only those who will directly benefit. This notion of war is not there in the Puranic literature. So Sarala, sort of gave us a beautiful notion of, gave us a very powerful notion of war. So this is something let me repeat, this notion that a war would be fought only only by those who would be directly beneficiaries. Blood should flow on the battlefield. Now this is something which is very special in Sarala Mahabharata, and in the context of our Puranic literature, it stands out. This notion of war is not there anymore. Okay, and I said single combats are there, and then skirmishes are there, but not this. And Arjuna, and just one more example I make it. This is not something which Arjuna said in that battlefield. One might say, oh, Arjuna said this, he actually didn't mean it. No, not that. This value that you should not start a war. This value is there is mentioned throughout in various episodes. Really express this value in Sarala Mahabharata. On another day, when he was fighting, he was going to fight a war with the Mlechas outside the Kurukshetra battlefield area. That day that day was the day when Abhimanyu was killed. He was not there in the battlefield. When he went to fight the Mlechas on a different battlefield, and Krishna said, okay, here are the Mlechas, now attack. Arjuna said, no, I will not attack them, because I don't even know them. They're neither friends nor foes. I don't know them. If I don't know, who should I attack? Let them attack, I will attack. So this position of Arjuna, that I will attack only when I am attacked. This position is something which is because I don't want to start the war. Okay, and in Sarala Mahabharata, without exception, war is sin. Without exception, there are no situations where one can justify a war. War is just sin. And then including the so-called including the war that simply cannot be avoided. So as is the found. So nothing. So all war is sin. Now, so that's a view. And and Sarala, there is a beautiful idea in Sarala Mahabharata, and that is, but mankind is never so unfortunate that it has no alternatives. There is always an alternative to war. When Arjuna and Krishna met for the first time in the battlefield, they were fighting, they met for the first time. Arjuna told Krishna that, look, we are reduced to this situation because of the Kauravas. We are fighting brothers. We are fighting, relations because of Kauravas. Krishna said, no. Don't think that is the case. If you really wanted to uphold the value of brotherhood, You could have given the kingdom to Duryodhana and retired to the forest. You didn't do that. You have come to fight for kingdom. Whether it is 5 villages or whatever, you have come to fight for your kingdom. So don't blame him alone. War has always an alternative. You could have given things to, you could have given this to Duryodhana, kingdom to Duryodhana, and retired to the forest with your brothers and wife. So Bhishma sort of stated an alternative, articulated an alternative to this. So I felt that mankind is never so unfortunate that there is no alternative to a situation. One can say that this alternative would have really meant would have meant nothing. Doesn't really matter what would have meant ultimately or not, but it was nothing also. It was not something that was that. I mean, it's not something new, because although at that point of time this is not mentioned, but we know that this is what Santanu had done for Dhritarashtra. When he heard that his brother was unhappy, that he, being the elder, he was not the king, he abdicated the throne for his brother's happiness. That's asserting brotherhood. Okay, so this is what this is Vishnu could not do. And Vishnu raised another question, beautiful question. He said that Arjuna, tell me, in a cooler, in a family, if one person is spoiled, what do you do with him? Do you try to accommodate him or do you eliminate him? So these are the questions which arise, and this is very, very we know Foucault. So it's a very, very interesting and interesting idea that to sum up this part. See, war is sin. There is no qualification to this. War is sin in all circumstances, and because the blood of the innocents flow. So that is one, and the other thing is that there is always an alternative to war. It requires sacrifice, and then mankind is not so unfortunate that it doesn't have a sort of alternative to anything. So in any case, so turning to the last one, I'm sort of quickly sort of anyway, let me come to the last one. See, last one is Musali Parva. In Musali Parva, Krishna passes away, his avatar ends. And then the story of the emergence of Lord Jagannath starts. Now, one can ask this question. See, Mahabharat, how did Mahabharata end? With the ending of the avatar of Krishna. Krishna is passing away, and the Pandavas, sort of going to, Pandavas passing away and going to Soga alive, whatever. That's the Soga one. So Yudhishthira was going to Soga alive, and all his brothers and his wife, Draupadi, they are all falling to their deaths. So that is how the Mahabharata ends. Now, why on earth should somebody, Sarala, bring in the story of the emergence of Jagannath? It is absolutely irrelevant, completely irrelevant. There is no place for such an episode. But most of that episode deals with that. Now here we cannot say that he was trying to localize the story. No, this is not localization, because the story is over. This Mahabharata story is over, and Jagannath is absolutely extrinsic to it. So why did it sort of bring that story, tell that story at all? And it cannot be explained in terms of any attempt to localize the story. No. Yudhishthira marrying a Brahmin, marrying a woman, an Odia woman, is that, and there are various, and Basasarovar being in, so in any case, there are a number of other examples where one can say that, okay, Pandavas came to Odisha during their Banavas and all that, and Pandavas. So there are many things, including Arjuna and Krishna both came to Puri, Purushottam Kshetra, where they stayed for 3 days and had darshan of Lord Jagannath. Remember, both Arjuna and Krishna came. In any case, so there are many instances that can be given, which can be expressed in terms of, which can be explained in terms of the poet trying to localize the story. But not this one, because the story is over. Krishna is no longer there, and Sarala Mahabharata clearly says that Krishna avatar is over, and Krishna became integrated into Lord Vishnu. That is the end of it. And then the Pandavas. Then why was this? Then why this? Why the story of emergence of Jagannath? Now, this will require a very, very, this will require a full-length treatment. I cannot do justice to it. Therefore, I will not say anything more than this. But we'll talk about only one character there, and that character is called Jara. Jara is a Savar, a tribal person, a forest dweller. Jara is a Savar, and the Aryans, the Aryas, looked upon Savaras as low caste. Okay, so in their framework, they are all low people, low caste, and all that. So here the focus to, and if you ask me, actually, Sarala's purpose, it seems to me, was not to talk about the emergence of Jagannath. Emergence of Jagannath becomes of secondary importance to uh, telling us the story of Jara. I mean, this is an interpretation. I know if you give me another, when I get another opportunity, if at all, and I talk about the significance of the Jagannath emergence, I will say something different. Okay, but then now for the present, let me say that the focus is on Jara. To me, it appears, as I said, just as Mayadhan Mansingh said in history of Odia literature, that the story of Kanchi Vijaya is not the story of Kanchi Vijaya so much, or but it is a story of Manika Gaudini. Similarly, here it is, to my mind, the story of Jara. And Jara in Sarala Mahabharata is a kind of more like common name than a proper name. Just as just like Rama. So many people are called Rama in the Odia speaking community. So I like that. So Jara is a personal name, but at the same time, many people bear it. So one of the names of Ekalabya in Sarala Mahabharata is Jara. And the person who killed Krishna, who shot that arrow, fatal arrow, and killed him, was Jara. And this Jara has the name Jara, but has no connection with, these. This is what I would say today, and my interpretation is this. So you see, this Jagannath comes into Puranic literature in Skanda Puran and in Padma Puran. Okay. Now, in Skanda Puran and Padma Puran, Jagannath's emergence is described in terms of in Brahminical terms, in the sense that there is no place for a Sabara in those narratives. Now, in Sarala Mahabharata, the narrative of emergence of Jagannath is based on Skanda Purana mainly, and also Padma Purana to an extent. So anyway, and just to say one thing, this Jagannath does not occur in mainstream Sanskrit Puranic literature. For example, Vishnu Puran doesn't mention Jagannath. Mahabharata doesn't mention. Mahabharata, of course, is called an Ithihas there, not mention Jagannath, and like that. So there is no, Jagannath is used as an epithet, but not as a deity. As Jagannath, the deity is not. So Jagannath enters into Puranic literature through this, and when you read these two Puranas, you don't find any involvement of any Sabara in it. That the Sabara was worshipping Nila Madhava and all that, but after that it is over. When the Arya king comes, etc. When the Arya king comes, whatever happens in building the temple, and then making the images, murtis and all that, is all, there is no involvement of Sabara. But in Sarala Mahabharata, this Sabara Jara is involved in that temple, in the installation of Jagannath Murti episode. He is involved deeply. I don't have the time to go there, so let me quickly sort of say what he does. The voice from the sky says that when the king was wondering who will make the murti of from the wood, from the sacred wood, who will make the murtis, and the voice from the sky said, it is Jara will make my murti. And the king says, Indradumna says, he just pushes him into the temple and closes it. And he says, what can I do? I have never even seen a picture. How can I make a murti? So he said, you know, and your God knows. You do whatever you like. So he closes the door and all that. So notice the voice of the sky chooses a sabara for the making of his murti. Okay. And actually inside, Brahma appears, Lord Brahma appears, he makes the murti. But this sabara, Jara, goes outside the temple at night, collects various kinds of juices from trees, and sort of to put them on the murtis as the murtis are being built. Okay, so this is the kind of thing that is an involvement of Jara in this. And then who will worship? So voice of the sky, Jara's family, Jara will be involved in my worship. So there is this. There is no time to go into this, but there is another ritual. Another ritual is based on this idea. In any case, to me, this is important for at least 2-3 reasons. One, we have this notion of bhaktas. We have bhaktas, bhaktas. Whether they are Virodha bhaktas or they are, they are Navada bhakta followers, all bhakti tradition, all bhakti tradition, all the bhaktas, they need God. They want His company. They need, they need God. But you look at the bhakti, any concept of bhakti, in Navada bhakti tradition, in the Bhagavata, or in Virodha bhakti tradition, whatever it is, or gopis, whatever it is, everybody needs some kind of a companionship with the Lord. Okay, so that is bhakti. Okay, everybody, Savari and everyone, Prahlad Savari, Narada, you name it, they all fall into this category. They all want to be with God. They need Him. They want to be with Him, and etc. etc. So you know what I mean. I'm not too elaborate. But here, the thing is, Jara does not need God. Jara does not need Jagannath. He said, I don't even know what to do. I mean, he never had any longing. He never had any desire to be associated with God. He had absolutely no desire, no inclination, to be connected with God. Nothing. It is God who wanted him. So, so bhaktas wanting companionship with God. Now, God wants companionship with bhakta, with not even a bhakta, with somebody who doesn't even want him, doesn't know him, doesn't want him, with him. And this desire that God seeks man. Look, God, SEKKS, God seeks man, not the other way around. This idea is beautifully expressed, in the character of Jara. God needs him. He doesn't need him. Okay, he will make my murti. He will do the worship. He will be I need him. And here, this person is indifferent to me. He doesn't even know what he is. So this idea, this concept that Sarala sort of expresses, or Sarala creates in this episode is something, the parallel to which is not there in our Quran. So that is one. The other thing is, if you look at it, the story, connect some stories. Ekalabya wanted to be taught by the Guru Drona. Guru Drona was willing to teach him, contrary to what Bhasa Mahabharata says. Guru Drona was willing to teach him, but Drona was not free. Drona was not free. He was working for the Kuru family. So Duryodhana was not inclined that a low caste person would learn with the Aryans, with the Arjas. So he was dismissed. He was not taught by that didn't happen. So there is a desire, there is an aspiration for these forest dwellers, the Sabaras, to be accepted by the Aryan community. So this starts from Ekalabya episode. Ekalabya episode has not been seen from this perspective, but if I had time, I could have given more evidence to show why I'm saying this. But this is one. And then I'm skipping a few things. Yeah. Then Drupada, King Drupada, and Drona never met any ashram or anything. They were never batchmates. But there was a Kirata king, there was a Shavara king, Sabaras were powerful people, powerful king, powerful. So he had defeated Drupada and Drupada had left his kingdom, and he had become the king, the Sabara. And and not to go into how he knew Drona and all that here. Now what he did was, one day the Sabara, he left the Sabara kingdom with his own kingdom with his minister. And the minister said that, look, there is what are you doing here? You are ruling a country which is not yours. He was a good ruler of Drupada's kingdom. He was a good ruler, but the minister said, no, there is nothing great about ruling somebody else's kingdom. Come back and rule your own. Look at the value. So anyway, so he left that kingdom and went back. It questions the entire thing of annexation of territories by the king. In any case, there is a third thing. Somebody called Kiratasen, another Sabara, wanted to fight the war participated in the Kurukshetra war. Both the Pandavas and the Kauravas refused to accept his offer because they said that you are a Sabara. So this desire, the aspiration of the Sabaras to be accepted with dignity by the Arya community was thwarted many times in Sarala. Put these episodes together. As you said, as Foster said, only connect. And you connect these episodes together, and then you see that the Savara and the Aryas, the Brahmins and the Savaras, they came together, and they, in a mutually respectable relationship and a harmonious relationship, only when God intervened. I want Jara. I will not accept pure Brahminical worship. So this is so Sarala. If you look at Sarala Mahabharat from this point, this is another thing. And finally, the third thing about this thing is, this is the empowerment of the disempowered. The Savaras, sort of were completely divorced. They had, they lived in the forest and had been completely divorced and marginalized in the society. And Jara, by being by the chosen person of God himself. So, this way, there is an empowerment of Jara. Okay. Now, this we can see from the subaltern perspective. In any case, so I have quickly tried to say things, saying how certain episodes of Sarala, where he deviated from the original, and how we can look at them. I have tried to interpret them in my own way, and trying to suggest that each of these, how profoundly creative thinker Sarala was, and how all these kinds of thoughts, all these kinds of insights and all that have been very naturally incorporated into his story. None of these, none of these stick out in the narrative as a kind of soul thumb, they're all naturally integrated in the story. The story reads perfectly, well, right? These incorporations don't affect the story. In any case, so finally, so I've tried. What I've done is I have discussed a few episodes where Sarala refers from received Mahabharata, and I have shown their significance as I understand them, and I have tried to sort of show the creativity and the originality of Sarala as a thinker, and finally I have tried to say how these innovations in terms of thinking, concepts, ideas, insights, how we situate them in the Puranic tradition, and find that this is unique in the case of Sarala. Nothing like this apart from the tradition. So thank you very much. I have taken a lot of your time, and thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We invite Chairperson sir to conduct the final section. If there are some queries, suggestions, or debates, please. Professor Boral sir is there. Sir.
Professor Boral, can I put a query?
Sir, namaskar. Please go ahead with your query, sir. Please.
Thank you. Professor Patnaik sir, namaskar.
Namaskar,
I
namaskar.
am namaskar. What does Sarala say about the war? He was telling that no war is I mean it can be avoided or something. You know, he was putting some other logic, but at the end, then how did he have any view on why war is there, and why did war happen at the end?
Yeah, so see, there are certain issues, which do not have, I mean, if they cannot, when they fail to be negotiated with, okay, finally, people go to war, and
Hmm.
even, so say for example, there is one kingdom, two claimants for the throne. Now, what will happen? If all negotiations fail, then they say, okay,
Hmm.
we'll resolve this problem on the battlefield. So that has always happened. In not only in this case, in every case. Somebody,
Hmm.
I mean, sort of, uh, you know, somebody, I mean, runs away with someone's wife. Okay, what do you do? And doesn't, despite several sort of warnings to that his wife be returned, it's an dharmic act, doesn't listen. What do you do? So in this, it is not that the society will not, some problems are such that wars will take place. So there is a place for war, but at the same time, uh, it is said that I mean, the alternative to war is a kind of supreme sacrifice. So, in that sense, sort of war is an alternative. The other important thing in Sarala is that war should be, as I was pointing out, that if a war has to take place, make sure that the damage is a minimum. So don't use, I mean, atomic weapons at the drop of a hat.
Okay.
Okay. So the damage would be minimum, and that is because the innocents die. And and war is always the war. I mean, and sort of let those who are not direct beneficiary of the war, I mean,
Hmm.
be forced to fight because innocent people die. So these ideas are very, very modern. You know, that
So,
is the
I mean, these thoughts are not there in Vyasa Mahabharat. These thoughts are
sorry.
not there in Vyasa
No,
Mahabharat.
no, 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 no. These sort of in Vyasa
Okay.
Mahabharata there is no concern for the soldiers.
This meeting is being recorded. Okay. Okay. But Eddie, talking about the companionship and idolatry, when you talk about Jagannath, and you told about companionship and need of having a uh, God. I mean, having a manifestation of God. Uh, and this bhakti, but the later in Odisha, there are saints there are saints who have worked for Niskama Bhakti and Sunyavad, without any, not talking about any idol, uh, Mahaprabhu Achyutananda. Also, Achyutananda also sometimes refers to the Jagannath, but he also talks about Sunyavad and Bhima Bhoi. They all talk about Sunyavad. I think. Do you have any idea how this change has come in Odia literature? Change
Sorry.
from idol worship to Sunyavad?
This Sunyavad thing, uh, this it comes from actually the Upanishads.
Hmm.
It comes from Upanishads. Okay, so Upanishad is also a part of our tradition, but it is not part of the Puranic tradition. So
Yeah,
Sunyavad,
that,
so Sunyavad is in Buddhism.
hmm.
Sunyavad in
That
Buddhism.
I know, but I want to know the thought process.
And in
What, hmm.
It said that everything started with
That
swimming.
inflection, why and
Then,
where, when it
huh?
came to Odia literature in
Sorry.
philosophy. That inflection from idol worship to no idol worship, Sunyabad, how did it come to Odia literature? No, it took
It
the
came
prominent stage.
in this Sunnavad thing. The Sunnavad thing. Those who have worked on Bhima Bhui, they say it came from the Upanishads, or that
Mm.
tradition. Huh. But
Mm.
then, Sarala also mentions the Sunnavad. They say, the world begins with Sunna. Huh. So
Mm.
the point is, sort of. Mm, the world begins with Sunya and all that. From Sunya, everything was created. So that is the idea. But here,
Mm.
they say that, okay, we will not worship any form. We'll worship Sunya. So this idea is basically Upanishadic, and Puranic literature has always a personalized God.
Mm.
And,
Okay.
and because Puranic literature is always about human relationships. Sorry, about
Mm.
human predicament and all those things that I mentioned. They are about they're the stories of gods, but about the human, for the benefit of the human beings. Yeah,
Actually, if I may add here,
yeah, and the Buddhist
actually
version, yeah,
Panchasakhas, Chutananda also talks about Sunyavad.
yeah, 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 yeah,
There is a book called Sunya Gita,
yeah.
and
I
Yeah.
haven't.
that tradition actually, the Sunyavad came through the Panchasakhas.
Yeah, 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 yes, yes,
And there has been some influence of Buddhism also in that.
yeah.
And when you come to Bhima Bhoi, that becomes more pronounced. The Buddhist notion of Sunya becomes more pronounced.
Okay.
But Professor Patnaik, I
Ah,
have some observations to make. The
ah,
differences are well taken, and the caste tribe combination
ah,
that you have tried to show that in Sarala Mahabharat there
ah.
is more representation of the subaltern, as you have used that word. But you would expect that because this is not written by a Brahmin.
Yeah,
You see, this is obvious that if he is a Sudra, Sarala Das is a Sudra, he would also talk about the subaltern. But
yeah.
what I observe is, besides the differences, the narrative integration is very important. That is why I talk about the cultural thing. No? He has done it in such a way that the very philosophical issues that you have raised, like not being moved during time of war or anxiety, something sthita pragya. I
Mm,
think he was trying to suggest that what a person could be who is detached.
mm,
See, there is a sense of detachment that he himself has tried to inculcate through these kind of episodes. That is my point, because as you have said, mortality, he has given immortality a new definition, that nama rahibo juge juge, something like that, that your
Katha
name
rahithibo. Katha
flourish.
rahithibo.
Katha rahibo juge juge, nama rahibo juge juge, same thing. It implies the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Your name will flourish later on.
Mm,
Therefore, there is a possibility of the future, and in that sense, I think he has created that possibility, and I find it little tricky that the god seeking the devotee, uh,
Sorry,
because
sorry, sorry, God.
God seeking the devotee, that Jara who has made the
Ah,
deity of Jagannath and all that, how far that is, I think, uh, is I would say, in what way this is structure, because we know there is a deity, there is a devotee, there is a relationship, this is that is called devotion, like that. Now if you turn it, there is a god, there is a devotee who runs away from the god. Then what will be the structure of that devotion?
Uh,
see,
can I
see,
add, Professor Baral?
Yes, yes.
I think, yeah, I think I do not, I cannot give the exact example from the scripture, Vedic scripture, but the when Bhimavai also tells, and other Upanishadic scriptures tells that the divine is Purna. So who believes him, who does not believe him, who comes near to him, who comes far of him. So he includes everything, everybody. So that Purna concept, I think it is reflecting here. The Sarala, he wants to include everything to show that it is the divine is encompassing. So it's who wants him, who doesn't want him. I think the divine includes everything. So to make it more poetic or making it more, influencing people, probably, he has added that the God has called him and, asked him to do something like that, I think. But the Upanishadic thought is that the divine is Purna and also infinite, Apurna. So in that context, probably this narrative goes.
Yeah, it
Okay,
is
my response will be this. Is somebody speaking? Yeah, sorry.
no, no.
Any,
I am speaking. I thought it's a good critique actually. If you look in that way,
okay.
the major points of differences could be combined together as a critique of the Vyasa Mahabharata. But as you have rightly said, some of these concepts need further investigation with the related texts. Outside the Puranic tradition. Outside the Puranic tradition.
Yeah, yeah,
No,
yeah.
he talks about only. See, in the
I'll
Puranic
just I'll just I'll
tradition.
just say I'll just say one thing. Hello, Professor Bharat.
Yes, yes.
No, just one thing. See, God was not looking for a devotee. Huh? God was looking for the person who he was looking for was not his devotee. He was indifferent to him, he never bothered about him. And yet, he was a chosen person. The idea of a chosen person, that is expressed here. The idea of a chosen person. I have chosen.
Actually, that
Yeah,
Professor
yeah,
Patnaik will
and he
complicate.
never became, and Joraval never didn't become a
No, no,
devotee at all.
he may be somebody, but chosen person will complicate because Abrahamic religions have this concept, the chosen person, chosen by God, somebody.
Okay,
But
but
this is here,
no,
I think that concept, the chosen, may little complicate the argument actually.
yeah. So this is my finding, and it is and you see, and this is based on textual evidence.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
because we can react in many ways, but for that, we have to have evidence from
These
the
are
text.
valid reasons. You have given valid reasons of difference with proof.
No, no, no,
There
no.
is
Yeah, they can be
absolutely
questioned. Yeah, they are interpretation. To the extent they are
Can I add
interpretation.
something, Professor Baral? Sir?
yes.
Yeah.
Hello?
Uh,
Please ask.
yeah.
Please ask.
Sir, there was a Tagore song in which
Yeah.
he says that uh, it is because of me
Hmm.
that you have come down on earth. He's telling to God in
Hmm.
one of his songs,
Hmm.
it is because of me you have come down to earth,
Uh,
because without me, O Tribhuvaneshwar, your
yeah.
love will be futile.
Yeah. Beautiful.
So there's the Tagore song like that.
Yeah, yeah, this is
তাই
beautiful.
তাই
Yeah.
তুমি এসেছো আজ নিচে, আমায় নইলে ত্রিভুবনেশ্বর, তোমার
Hmm.
প্রেম হতো যে মিছে. There is a Tagore song like that. হ্যাঁ, I can repeat. তাই তুমি এসেছো আজ নিচে,
Hmm.
I
আমায়
think Tagore
নইলে.
is a devotee of Jagannath. I think
Maybe.
Jagannath. Because he has his house. He built a house in Puri, and
Yes.
that become the property of Puri College.
Uh,
ACS College, Puri, its
uh,
property. And
okay.
I have stayed there. That was turned into a hostel. I think
Okay.
Professor Patnaik
Yeah,
can give the details about that. Tagore's
yeah,
house
yeah,
became the
yeah,
hostel of Puri College, and it's a
yeah,
beautiful building. It's a beautiful building, and the
yeah,
building has from each room there is a view of the sea.
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Very good.
Okay.
Anyway,
Okay.
this is actually one of the complicated episodes in Indian philosophy or thinking or writing or imagination, the relation between the devotee and the deity.
Yes.
That is, the debate cannot be settled. But what I would like to say is that I enjoyed listening to Professor Patnaik after a long time, and as always, he brings in a different kind of lucidity to the conversation and also enriched with uh, very intense thought, but spoken in a very simple way. And that he has not still, I think, with the age also, that he has not lost. It has become more refined and more fascinating and attractive. I look forward to listening more and more, and it's a pleasure meeting you after so many years, even if it is online. But online is actually the connection these days. If anybody wants to ask more questions, please, we can take two more questions because it's already 7:30, 1.5 hours. Any questions? Any observations?
Sir, I have just uh, one observation. Like
Yes.
sir mentioned about the narrative agency, like the Mahabharata or other Puranic texts or classical texts. They always come like there someone is speaking or and the someone is scribing and someone is narrating. In this context, when we take Sarala Mahabharat, actually, I have done field work in that area and around the temple. It's a very unknown, small place, and it has no mention in the classical literature in Sanskrit, but I think this is a medieval manifestation. Like that is a time when the idea of Thakurani, like every village or we find that like when the declining of this um, uh, you know not decline establishment of the tantric tradition in Buddhism, so that gives way to the Thakurani worshipping in Odisha. So I think Sarala Das, who also take his title or authorship and from the goddess, also is trying to establish a minor god or minor goddess like Sarala Thakurani in its narrative, and that gives a label or layer to the narrative agency. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I think very very important observations. Uh, the problem is that there is very little to go by when it comes to Sarla. I mean, in the sense, what he knew, how he knew what he knew, etc., etc. All kinds of speculations, but nothing very, I mean, there's no evidence, strong evidence, reliable evidence to go by. In fact, I tried to, although generally, I mean, I take my view is that, the author's biography, the author's life is not important unless it throws a light on his work. But then, it's like separating the dancer from the dance. So it becomes important actually to know something, to know about the person. But what I have tried to read up whatever is available on Salam in both in any form, including plays. But then the difficulty is that from all this, we really cannot come up with something which we can say, "Well, this is what Sarah was like, or this is what his profession was actually," etc., etc. And most importantly, I've been asked by so many people, so many friends and all that they have said, "Did Sarah know Sanskrit?" I said, "Sir, I have no way of knowing this because we do not know what his education was like and all." So, for example, there is sort of this abhorrence for war is something which is there in Sarala Mahabharata. It's not a war poem; it's an anti-war poem. Okay. In any case, so somebody asked me, sort of, is it possible that he joined the Kapilendra because he was a soldier in the Kapilendra army? The deaths and the devastation that he saw, that was his first experience. It is because of that he turned to this kind of pacifist thinking and all. I cannot say anything, because why Sarala did what he did. Yeah, and the most important thing is, see, the Sarala Mahabharata text that I go by. I mean, I always say that when it comes to these kinds of works, we always go by the editor's version. Because a friend of mine told me, he's a professor of Delhi University, he has retired now, Patnaik. He told me that how do you know which pothis are authentic in case of Sarala? So it is, so there are pothis and other people copied pothis. So in the process, many things were added and all that kind of thing. So so he said that what do we do? What we get today is only the editor's version of the text. So all these very, very important questions, research questions, have to be looked into. But how to go about it, I mean, unfortunately, there is no engagement in that direction as of now. But if it happens, it will be really fantastic. Thank you so much. Very, very important observation, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Let me add something. I think I come from that area, more or less from
Yeah,
that
great.
area, region.
Yeah.
I come from that region.
Uh,
Sarala Pit actually has different ways of looking at it, and actually she is considered as a goddess of Vidya or something like that. But it is one of the Shakti Pithas. Like Biraja, Sarala, Mangala, the Shakti Pithas in Odisha. Sarala is included among those. Bhagavati, Sarala is included. There is a local element because all these goddess cult always has a legend behind it, how it came to existence or how the goddess was consecrated or who brought it. All these things are there. And the village is very much close to that Sarala pit, Tentulipada. Tentulipada is the village where this Parida, and Sari is saying Sudra, because with the Parida title, he cannot be a Sudra, but he is a non-Brahmin. I would say that he is a non-Brahmin. Saladas is a non-Brahmin, and I don't think he is a
Just
Sudra the
amazing.
way we understand Sudra. Das title he has taken, Saralas Das, that is a different thing. And if you visit the temple, there is a plaque on which certain things about Saraladas is written. His original name, his devotion towards the deity, and what happened. Incidentally, you will find that some important person has been close to some deity, and they are non-Brahmins, because as far as I know, Mangala and Sarala are not, the ritual is not done by Brahmins. That is a very important thing you must know. The rituals are conducted by Raulas. There is one caste called Raula. This Raula caste conduct these rituals. And it is not surprising that this gentleman comes from a non-Brahmin background, and he was so much devoted to Sarala, and he might have got the benefit of his enlightenment being devoted to Sarala. Because enlightenment doesn't require a big deity's name. A small deity could also be your medium to get some kind of enlightenment, because bhakti is a mode like that. Okay, therefore, Sarala Das, I would say, he was a soldier, as Sarah said. He has a clear understanding of the society, the nuances of what we call Ardi, native philosophy, and all these things have come together in the name of Sarala. Maybe he was trying to protect him, making the goddess as the creator of this text. And it's unconventional because there is no invocation, nothing of the sort. But Sarala is still in my area, is considered as the goddess of Vidya or knowledge. And I think for your high school exam, and I have given this middle school exam, for all these exams, we used to visit Sarala, or our parents will visit, that tradition is still there.
Hey, very interesting, Professor Boral. Very interesting.
She is not a Gram Devati, mind you.
Yeah, just a couple of things I wanted to
It is a
share.
pitha actually.
Huh. I think I have read, I don't remember who said this, either Mansingh or Surendra Mahathi, I don't remember. But someone has said that you see, at a certain point of time, Shudra meant anybody who is not a Brahmin.
Yes, I accept that.
Yeah, so and Sara himself called him a Shudra Muni, but there are people have given reasons for that. But in any case, so you are absolutely right that he was not quote unquote a Shudra in what it meant, at an,
Uh, in
yeah,
caste sense, he was not a Sudra in Odisha
yeah,
at
yeah,
least.
yeah. And
And
another interesting thing is this goddess
as
Sara is a,
Kapilendra Deva was not a Rajput.
he was not, yeah, yeah. So yeah,
They belong to
and
the
what is,
same caste.
yeah, what is interesting is that the goddess Sara goddess is both a manifestation of Saraswati and
Yeah,
Durga.
yeah. Right.
Yeah. And then beautifully, I do not know, beautifully, I mean, it's a beautiful thing that on every Ekadashi, goddess Sara wears what is called Jagannath Beso.
Yeah,
This
there
is,
are certain lot of practices there.
yeah,
One thing is for Jagan.
this is absolutely unique. No goddess, to the best of my knowledge, in Odisha, despite the connections with Lord Jagannath's temple and all that, no goddess has the Sara Beso. So this, sorry, this this
Jagannath.
Jagannath Vesa. So
And
the
this is a
very
vegetarian pitha because you see,
yeah, and she is a
I come from an area on my right side is Sarala, left side is Mangala.
left side is
Mangala.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Across the river, Kakatpur, Mangala is there.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yes,
But
yes,
Mangala is a non-vegetarian pit
yeah.
because sacrifices used to be made there. But in Sarala, there is no sacrifice,
She has this,
no history of sacrifice.
yeah,
It's important to know the nature of the deity
yeah.
and whether the deity has been described in other texts or something like that. It's important to know that.
Mm, mm.
Sarala, sir, Sarala is resembling Saraswati somehow like she is inspiration to writing. What you told,
Goddess of Vidya,
vegetarian.
is considered as a goddess of
Yes.
Vidya.
Professor Arun sir is there. Right? Professor Arun sir.
Namaskar,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Namaskar, namaskar.
Namaskar, Professor Mahanti.
Namaskar, namaskar.
I want to ask three questions. One, there could be difference between Sunya, Sunyata and Sunyabad. Second, do you think this philosophy of war, Sarala's philosophy of war, is partly derived from folk tradition in Odisha and partly from Bhakti movement in India? There could be connection with these two, and what kind of uses are made by Sarala with regard to his philosophy of war. Third question is this chosen people. You made an interesting point about chosen people. This point is made by many intellectuals, European as well as Indian. For example, Charles Taylor argues that this Hegel's idea of God is actually manifestation in people. Therefore, without people, God is incomplete. God completes himself in modern people. So that's the story. The Hegel's idea of history. Essentially, God manifests in modern public space. God becomes complete. Without that, God is incomplete. That story is not simply Abrahamic. Taylor argues that in Bhakti tradition also this narrative, he makes interesting one paragraph, makes an interesting point that in Bhakti tradition, one may also find similar streaks of thinking. Therefore, the certain ideas are philosophically universal. They are not necessarily Abrahamic, they are not necessarily Hindu. They are, therefore, don't you think it could be used by Sarala in this way?
I do not know. These are things I do not know anything about. I mean, research is necessary. But there is something. It could have, bhakti tradition is one thing. It could have come from this Buddhist influence. As I am told, Professor Boral will correct me. I am told that that area, so probably that area in the 15th century, 14th century, that area, there are Buddhists, and the Buddhism was very popular there. So maybe, so for example, in Sarala, it has been observed by other scholars, it is observed scholars, that Sarala was influenced greatly by Buddhism. But Professor Boral, was that the center of Buddhism or Jajpur? Which one?
Jajpur is the center.
Not this one.
No. This is Jagatsinghpur. It is not Jajpur.
In any case, Sarala, there is a lot of, one can say there is a lot of influence of Buddhism on him rather than the traditional bhakti, that is Ramanuja and all that. More than that is these Buddhist ideas. So how Sarala was so influenced by Buddhist ideas?
Actually, there are quite a number of traditions
Yeah.
that come to some kind of a confluence. Actually, this is because you think of the period 15th century, and this is the time when he almost awakened a kind of particular consciousness addressing to the society and culture of Odisha through adapting a retelling of the story of Mahabharat. Because Mahabharat is considered to be one text that whatever is not in Mahabharat, it is not in India. You see, if you take this thing, therefore Mahabharat, the critical question Professor Patnaik has asked is Shunya, Shunyata, and Shunyabad. This is important. One of the ideas have already been given. Purna. Opposite of Shunya would be Purna, the completeness. But the complete, actually the complete, whatever you imagine as complete, starts from a kind of Derridian aporia. You can call it Shunya. From Shunya to Punya. It can, in that way, it can be looked at. That is one. Shunyabad, and as you have talked about this Abrahamic and non-Abrahamic, this is one thing. This is where I would allude to the structure of a bhakti. That there are two things in India that has happened. One is bhakti and the sampradaya. You see, this is very important. And the bhakti movement, which is very, very important, it almost flourished in all corners of India, starting with the Punjab, Sikhism, to these people in Maharashtra. What is their name? Namdev was there. Namdev was there. And Chaitanya, and Odisha, the Panchasakhas, particularly Achyutanand. All these people have dealt. Ji, ji, they have dealt with this. Shankardev in Assam. Shankardev, they have dealt with this in different ways. Like Chaitanya, Nam Kirtan, there is no deity. Shankardev, Nam Dharma, same thing, abstract. Shunya, something Shunya. And Achyutananda also talks about Shunya. But you will find the Achyutananda group, the Panchasakha, they have defined their own form of a Vaishnavism, which is different from Gaudiya Vaishnavism. See, in their work also they have shown it. Therefore, their concept of Shunya is almost like, because as Vaishnavas, they all are, this moving towards as what is called by this Bhimabhoi Nirakarvad. Shunya merges into Nirakarvad. Nirakar, no akar. Okay. It could be vastness, emptiness, whatever you call it. And therefore, Shunyabad is actually merging towards Nirakara Bhat to a greater consciousness without Swarupa. But at the same time, these people are devoted to Jagannath who has a Swarupa. Okay. Therefore, in Odisha, this in between spaces, no, the middle path, they always take. You see, you write everything about Swarupa, but you believe in Nirakar. Now, this is sometimes you cannot say it is a contradiction, but it is a beautiful way of reconciling these two concepts. And what I feel in Hinduism, the strength of all these little differences in worship and the conceptualization of the ideas remain with the sampradayas. The sampradayas do their practices in a particular way. Anyway.
One little thing can I say? See,
Yes, yes.
see, just tell me, no one, no one who has retold Mahabharata, to the best of my knowledge, calls it Vishnu Puran. No, Sarala, Sarala calls his Mahabharata Vishnu Puran. Repeatedly he says that listen to Vishnu Puran, listen to Vishnu Puran. That is, this is Mahabharata, this is the story, this is Vishnu Puran. But that requires a full length discussion. So that cannot. And then
that is
yeah,
yeah,
the full length discussion. But not possible. No comment. But Professor Bharat asked me a kind of question, which is a personal question. Saying, when did I take interest in Mahabharata? Okay.
Huh?
When did I take interest in Mahabharata?
No.
Okay.
Yes, please tell me. Yes.
That is in 2004. And retired from IIT Kanpur and had come to join CIL Mysore as a kind of senior fellow. And, sort of accidentally, I sort of got into Mahabharata. In any case, I have a friend, Professor Udayanarayan Singh. He once jokingly said to me that there are two Patnaiks, two BN Patnaiks. One is pre-CIIL, the other is post-CIIL. Pre-CIIL, all Noam Chomsky. Pre-CIIL, all Noam Chomsky. Post-CIIL, all Sarala.
Yeah. That is a very good
observation.
Professor Professor Patnaik, if you allow me, I will just add one line.
Ji.
See, Bhima Bhai talks about Sunya, but he also used a word called Thula Sunya.
Yes,
When
yes.
all Sunyas gathered. So that he talks about Thula Sunya also. So that's a very, very interesting idea the Bhima Bhai throws in his Stuti Chintamani. So that's what. And he also, in two bolis, he describes what is Sunya and what is. And he uses also one word, Mahasunya. So all these are, they are no qualification of Sunya. Yeah, that's what probably, it will
Yes,
be linked.
anyway, we have reached cosmic consciousness now. From Sarala Mahabharat to cosmic consciousness.
See,
Mahasunya.
I viewed from science point of view, Thula Sunya is like a black hole which sucks
Yeah,
everything to nothing.
yeah.
So that's what I have written in my interpretation.
Yeah, should we call it a day?
Yeah, thank you, Professor Patnaik. Thank you.
Yeah,
As you
I
wish,
would like
as
to
you
thank.
wish, as you wish, Professor Bharat.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
We
Namaskar.
are almost close to
Namaskar.
8.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Yes, sir.
Namaskar. Thank you very much.
Namaskar.
Thanks, Sarat, for organizing this
Namaskar.
and giving the
Over phone many times in 2023 and 24. So I thought that he is right person to chair the session. He has very soon. And thanks to all the participants. And we meet again. And it's our sincere gratitude to all the experts and participants to spend on this valuable discourse. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Namaste,
Namaste.
namaste.
Namaste, Professor Patnaik. Namaste.
Right.